Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. This week I wanted to go through counterclaims with you. I'm going to post these instructions after I finish this video. But before I do, I wanted to give you a little bit of in-person instruction about how we deal with counterclaims in argument. So right now you should be working on researching and or drafting your final argument paper. And a really important part of the argument is how you deal with counterclaims. The best thing I can do is demonstrate this. So this is something I would normally do in class. Obviously we can't do that, but I would hand out these to different groups and I would make you argue against the position. So a counterclaim is any reasonable, informed opposition to what you're saying. Okay? So if you have a position, which I hope you do by now, on whatever subject you're arguing, you have to consider what a reasonable person would argue against your position, and then you have to consider how you're going to deal with it. Okay? So for example, if we take our first one right here, we believe that the death penalty is ineffective. Okay? A reasonable person might argue the following against that. So we're going to argue that the death penalty is effective. Well, what are the reasons for that? Well, first of all, you get rid of the criminal, who is usually a murderer, if not a mass murderer. You bring closure to the families of the victims. There is an essence of social justice. That social justice might be based on the idea of biblical justice. An eye for an eye, that's one way of viewing the idea of justice. So they are all reasonable counterclaims. So your next problem is, how am I going to deal with that? Okay, let's take one of those. Should we take, which reason should we take? We'll deal with the idea that the death penalty is a deterrent. Okay, so a reasonable person would argue that having the death penalty in state law is a deterrent to anyone who's considering doing the same crime, right? So hopefully you will deter someone from murdering somebody else if they know that their punishment will be death by execution. Okay, there are three ways you can deal with a counterclaim. First way is if you feel like it's a little silly or frivolous or not very serious, you can ignore it. Okay, so you might have lots of people arguing against you saying stupid things or silly things or things that are uninformed or something like that. You can ignore those. However, we're dealing with ones that you need to take care of. Now, ideally, with any argument, with any counter-argument that you might get, you will be able to what we call refute. Okay, you'll be able to refute the claim. Now, with the deterrent, and it's really important again to use your research to back this up. With the deterrent argument, you can find plenty of statistics and plenty of academic articles and journals and books on the idea that in the states that still do have the death penalty, there is no sign of a decrease in the murder rate. In fact, sometimes there's even an increase in murder rate. So this would be proving this counterclaim wrong. So proving them wrong using evidence in the form of research. Okay? Ideally, that's how you're going to deal with any counterclaim. So if you're dealing with the 30-meter telescope, for example, let's say you're arguing that it shouldn't be built on Mauna Kea. One counterclaim to that is Mauna Kea is the best place in the world. It's the only place we can see these certain things. Well, you can refute that by saying it may be one of the best places in the world, but it's not the only one because scientists and technicians have identified other places throughout the world where this could happen. And then using short quotes or citations, like you have been doing all the way through the class, you use that to back up what you're saying. Okay? So that would be a whole paragraph. You would raise the counterclaim. So a reasonable person would argue this. And then you would disprove it in that same paragraph. However, this is incorrect or misguided or wrong because, etc., etc. And then you would use your research to refute that claim. Okay? So ideally, if you can, you will refute all the counterclaims that you have or that you can think of to your position. Because once you've done that, you make your argument even stronger, right? So think about it this way. You're stating a claim, you're making your argument by making the points backed up with research. You're then dealing with the other side. So the other, what is the other side going to say and how am I going to deal with it? But by that point, you've done your argument and then you hit your conclusion. And that's what that outline was that I gave you last time. Now, sometimes you can't refute a counterclaim. Someone has a valid argument against what you're saying, but it still doesn't change your mind. Think about it like weight, right? So it's the weight of evidence. So this side may still have really good evidence, but really it's this side that you're arguing, right? If someone comes up with a valid counterclaim that you can't refute, you have to what we call accommodate it. Accommodate. And what that means is raising it in your paper, acknowledging it as valid, but also saying that it doesn't change your mind, doesn't alter the weight of your research or the research, right? If you're not sure how to do this, take a look at the sample paper, and you can even Google argument papers and how to deal with counterclaims as well. I mean, it's not great, but nonetheless, this is another paragraph, right? The problem will come is if you're trying to make an argument and you have so many counterclaims that you have to accommodate, that weight then starts to shift, right? That means that you're actually dealing with a weight of evidence that disagrees with you. That might mean that you're wrong. So I want you to think really objectively about the material that you're dealing with. I do not mind if you start your research with one idea and you finish it with another one. As long as the research has been responsible and it's been tested all the way through the way that we've been asking you to do it, looking at who wrote it, where it was published, how old it is, how valid it is, all that kind of stuff. If the weight of your research or the weight of the counterclaims to your position is such that you feel like you might have to shift your position, that is fine. Just don't do it halfway through the paper. Just make sure that your final draft is stating your position and supporting it all the way through. Okay, that's responsible research, and it's responsible critical thinking too. Because as students, your role now is to be able to think critically about things and not just go with your gut instinct. Your gut instinct is fine at the beginning of the process, but it has to be informed by reliable research. And if that reliable research is counteracting your gut, then you have to go with the research and not your gut feeling. Okay, so just consider that while you're going through this process. Okay, so with that said, let's go to. Sorry, I just wanted to take you to the template that I'm going to have you folks do. Okay, this isn't the homework assignment for this week. And it's really meant to help you. So as long as you can write down your working thesis statement right here. So just write down very briefly, this paper will argue that, whatever it is you're going to argue. And then list the reasons very, very briefly here as well. Okay, just so that kind of repetition really helps you get your argument straight in your own head. And then this is just to help you consider the counterclaims. Okay, so I want you to think about what would a reasonable person argue against what I'm saying. List as many as you can. I've listed 3 here, but you can list more. So list your counterclaim, your first counterclaim, and then consider how you're going to deal with it. So can I refute it? Ideally you can. So I can refute this counterclaim because, and list the reason why. If you feel like it can't be refuted, gun laws are a really good example for this, right? Because I think there are strong arguments on both sides for the gun control debate. So you might have to accommodate some of those, right? Again, as long as it's not changing your mind, then that's fine. So whichever one, highlight it, and then try and fill this out as best you can, and then submit once you've done it. And this is meant to help you kind of solidify your argument. This is meant to help you when it comes to actually drafting the paper. Okay. Like I say, if you've got more, that's fine. But what I'm going to do as your instructor is when it comes to your final paper, I'm going to try and find as many holes in your argument as possible. I'm going to be as mean as possible. And ideally, I don't want to think up anything that you haven't already thought up, right? So I want as many reasons as you can list. So I'll be thinking of other reasons to support your claim. And I want you to come up with all the valid, coherent counterclaims that you can as well. You may only have one or two, you may have a bunch, but it depends on the subject that you're doing. But this is meant to help you with that other side of the paper. And really, this is going to be the second half, if not the last third of your argument paper. So the more you do on this, and as long as you can bring some research to support you, then you'll be fine. And if you're not sure, go and take a look at that sample paper, which I've also put in the instructions for this week. Okay. So fill this in as best you can. I put out some lecture notes as well, and all this is to help you while you're writing your paper. So I'm actually making a rough draft due by the end of next week. That's not to put pressure on you, it's really to get you as ready as possible to submit a final draft, so that I can take a look at what you've done, I can give you pointers and guidance, I can tighten up some of your editing and that kind of thing. I'm not going to edit the whole paper for you, but I'm going to help you in little ways, so that your final paper is going to be much tighter than it would be otherwise. Okay. So again, please email me with any questions. Use this material to help you. Obviously, you'll get credit for doing it in the appropriate manner, and I will be available the whole time through email. Okay, so good luck and happy writing.